Okay, so I have a question that I want you all to consider. What would happen if art and activism had a child? And think about that. We'll just deal with them separately first. So we have art, we have this beautiful entity. It's, think about your favorite piece of art, your favorite photograph or poem or song or novel. It might sound kind of corny, but I think art really appeals to us as human beings because it touches our heart in a very deep and intimate way. Then we have activism, which is really about passion and conviction and about principles and about having the active wherewithal to move through on your convictions. So what would happen if art and activism went out for coffee and had some drinks, got to know each other, got busy, got pregnant and had a kid? This is the fundamental question that we started a company that was kind of driven and inspired by this question. What would happen if these two things collided? So I'm an artist. I'm a hip-hop MC and jazz lyricist in a hip-hop and jazz quartet called Beast. This is Stephen Levitin, a.k.a. Apple Juice Kid. He's a drummer, DJ, and producer. And so we've individually been musicians our whole professional careers. But when we came together, we created an artistic product called a beat-making lab. As you can see, our cool logo here that I made on GIMP. So a beat-making lab, and I'll explain to you what that is. A beat-making lab is our art here in the union of art and activism. A beat-making lab is a course taught at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. It was founded by Apple Juice Kid and Dr. Mark Katz, who was the department head in the music department at UNC. And in the beat-making lab, you learn three things. You learn practical beat making, that's electronic music production. You learn history of beat making, and you also learn about entrepreneurship. So that's the beat making lab in a nutshell. And it's a very popular class. I mean, there's only 16 slots, but there's like 100 students who are just dying to get into this class. And it's not just because, Apple Juice is the coolest guy on campus. He is perhaps the coolest guy on campus, but that's not the only reason. The reason is because the beat-making lab is an innovative, artistic, and the pedagogy behind it. It's just a really innovative course. So if you think about music on a typical, for us, a typical American college campus, you see musicians all over the place. And just to give you some examples, there's gospel choirs and a cappella groups. There's DJs and mashup artists. There's MCs and vocalists. Even at the karaoke bar, you see students engaging in music. And in order to engage in most of these musical spaces, you do not need to know how to read music, nor do you need to know any music theory to participate in these musical spaces. Whereas in the music department, the department on campus whose primary concern is teaching music, you do need a lot of these prerequisites in order to engage in those classes in that department. So enter the beat-making lab. The beat-making lab is a class that you don't need any prerequisites. You don't need any music theory or music notation. You don't need to be able to read classical music notation to be able to engage in the class and to start making beats. And our instruments are different. They're non-traditional instruments. We use laptops and programs to sequence drums, to throw in synthesizers and keyboards, and to construct these beats. So we have one goal, a lofty goal at the beginning of every semester, and that's at the end of however many weeks, 16 weeks a semester, that we have our students making hot beats. And so just to give you an example of what a hot beat is like, we're going to play one for you from one of our students. And again, this is a first-time beat maker from our UNC beat-making lab. Apple Juice. Y'all can feel free to move your body a little bit if you want to. Apple Juice, why don't you tell them a little bit about this beat?
This beat was made by one of our students. His name is Sup Doodle, and he sampled a local North Carolina act called I Was Totally Destroying It.
Yeah, okay. So this is a picture from our beat making lab. First thing I'll say is that this student was not born with the name Sup Doodle. His name is Ryan, and he chose the name Sup Doodle for some reason that I can't explain. For his, that's his alias, his producer name. So Sup Doodle made this beat, and you mentioned sampling. So just to give you a little beat making 101, I'm not going to assume everyone in here knows what sampling is. Sampling, he says he sampled a band called I Was Totally Destroying It. That's an indie rock band from Durham, North Carolina. And so what Sup Doodle did was he took a segment of a Destroying It song, he put it into a program, into a music editing software. He was able to add electronic drums and electronic instruments over that sample to make the beat that you heard here. That's basically what sampling is, taking a piece of something and creating something completely different with electronic music software. So if you ever find yourself in a beat-making lab classroom, we will teach you how to sample, because it's very important if you're learning how to create electronica or hip-hop music. So that is one example of one of the beats from our UNC beat-making lab, and that is the first part of our equation, the first part of our relationship, art and activism. So now I want to talk a little bit about the activism piece. I consider myself an activist for the entirety of my adult life. I've been working in community centers with nonprofits, doing music advocacy and education work with youth. Everywhere from Mumbai, India, working in homeless shelters with young people, to church basements and Baptist churches in Durham, North Carolina, where I'm from. So that's social impact work that never really layered into the music until we launched our Beatmaking Lab initiative. And so what we wanted to do with the Beatmaking Lab in terms of making it social impact was take this curriculum and take these resources out of the ivory tower of the university where it was founded and putting it into a community where it had sustainable implications and positive implications for the community. So we had an opportunity through a colleague in our department to build a studio, to build a beat-making lab in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Our colleague was named Cherie Rivers, and the nonprofit organization that we partnered with was called, or is called, Yole Africa. So Yole Africa is an amazing nonprofit institution. They do film programs and dance programs for youth in Congo, and our job was to come in with the beat-making lab to give them another tool to work with, and it was just an amazing experience. In order to make this happen, we needed to raise money, so we reached out to our social networks. We did a crowdsourcing campaign with Indiegogo, and we raised money to buy laptops, speakers, music editing software, a microphone, all the equipment that we would need to build this studio in Congo. We took it there. The results were absolutely amazing. And that's not to say that there weren't some challenges. There were some challenges adapting the Beatmaking Lab curriculum to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. One challenge was electricity. I don't know how many of you have worked in East Africa, but we'd be like working on a session, vibing out, then boom, lights go out. It's completely dark. And that was one of the challenges that we faced. Was just literally the power grid. Another challenge that we faced was more of a serious one, a political one. And there was, I don't know how many of y'all paying attention to the news of what's happening in East Africa this summer, but there was a militant insurgency that was attempting to take over the military in Congo, in East Africa. So that had implications not only logistically for us going to work every day trying to build the studio, but also for the vibe and for our students' mentality, knowing that there are rebels 15 kilometers outside of the city. We're trying to do something positive and progressive in the community. All right, so here's another beat-making 101, little sample lesson for y'all. So the first day we got to Congo, we did something called a cipher. And what a cipher is, it was about 25 of us, Steve and I, and about 25 students, ranged everywhere from age 10 to probably age 30. and it was an improvisational performance where there was some students were beatboxing, some students were on a drum using their bodies. There were kids rapping in French, Swahili, Arabic. I was rapping in English. It was crazy. And so we had this cipher, and there was one of our students who was like, that was his contribution to the cipher. Everybody contributes something to the cipher. And so after we taught them, after we built the studio, that was day one. So over the next several days and weeks, we built the studio, we taught them how to use it. But when it came time to start writing songs, that was actually a starting point for the beat that you just heard. As we were constructing and tossing ideas around about what we wanted our beat to sound like, that that was like a foundational element that we put into the beat. And the reason I tell you that story is just to say that even though we're creating electronic music and that we built this electronic music studio in Congo, it's inspired by and influenced by and can be really developed by our real life kind of interpersonal interactions. And that was certainly the case in Congo with that beat and the Niwakati theme. So we had a socially conscious song with conscious lyrics with the Niwakati, the Time Is Now theme. We had a social impact space in creating the Beatmaking Lab. So Beatmaking Lab, and this is just, actually this is him right here, his name is Fal G. Really short and just has the deepest, craziest voice. He's a really cool guy. So so that was just Beatmaking Lab Congo. Our Congo Lab was our first experiment in fusing the worlds of art and activism. And we learned two really important things from this Beatmaking Lab that we're going to take moving forward. And what we learned was that when you bring these two things together, you're nurturing two things. One, community, and the second is innovation, and they're interrelated. And I'll start with community. The community in Goma, Eastern Congo, really rallied behind us with the Beatmaking Lab. And again, it wasn't because we were just doing something really cool. I think that might have been part of it, is that they were excited about the idea of it. But really, I think the reason that the community rallied behind us is because we were nurturing dialogue between the students. So they were exchanging beats, exchanging rhymes, exchanging lyrics, yes. But more importantly, they were exchanging ideas. And the community really responded and rallied behind that. And this is not to say that community didn't exist in this area before we got there. Wale Africa is a wonderful organization. Like I said, they do arts advocacy work with the youth, and they've been doing it for about 7 years. So it's not like we came in there and community flourished around the Beatmaking Lab, but we did nurture community and again give Wale Africa another tool in the arsenal of a cultural activist organization. They now have beat making at their disposal, which they can use and build upon. So moving forward, as we build more beat-making labs, we're in the process of starting 5 more beat-making labs internationally, and they're going to be connected through an open source platform. And what that means is building not just a local community like we did in Goma, but building on that model to build an international community of beat makers. So just imagine beat makers in Congo sending tracks to MCs and vocalists and lyricists in Rwanda, neighboring Rwanda, where there's been some conflict. Imagine MCs or beat makers in Israel sending tracks over to Palestine and collaborating with youth there. Or an MC in the United States rapping over beats from a Venezuelan beat-making lab. That's what we're talking about when we say community on a global and international scale. We're going to have a platform where students are able to collaborate, network, build with each other on kind of a large scale. And so the second piece of the puzzle is innovation. So when you get all these things together, you get innovation. And there's a really good example of that in the beat-making lab with this guy here, Flam Kapaya, with the double guitar. So when we were in Goma, there was a nationally known Congolese artist named Flam Kapaya. This dude is like the Jay-Z of Congo. He's a very cool guy, very popular artist. And he was really excited about our concept, about the lab. He came into the lab, and in a studio session that was engineered by our beat-making lab students, he produced a track with Applejuice Kid. Why don't you play that for them now? Y'all should at least be moving like this. Alright. So, Applejuice, tell them about this track, man.
Yeah, so Okayplayer and I recorded this song in the Congo Beatmaking Lab, like Pierce said. And I made the beat, and it's a dance anthem that we're calling Zenga.
Zenga, yeah. And so I think that for the third and final time, I'll take you into Beatmaking Lab class just to explain these three beats that we played you are really pretty radically different in their composition. So Okayplayer is not an electronic artist. You know, this is an electric guitar, but you know, they were in there with acoustic and electronic instruments, you know, guitars, bass, drums. So I just want to impress upon you the versatility of the studio that we built. When you hear electronic music, that your mind might go a certain place, but we're able to do a lot of different versatile types of things in our beatmaking lab. So, I mean, I think the song is evidence enough that the space that we created is a lightning rod for innovation. Not only was this, had Okayplayer never recorded kind of a dancey anthem like this, students had never been involved in tracking the session, and it was just on a bunch of levels. It was a really innovative experience for everyone involved, including Applejuice, including myself. So there are a couple other layers of innovation that I want to discuss. One is the Beatmaking Lab has attracted innovative partnerships. And I'll mention two. One is PBS, which in the U.S. it's public, well, not the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, but there's PBS and Whole Foods are two major partners moving forward with the Beatmaking Lab. So PBS will be distributing content from labs like this one and spreading it out to their demographic. And Whole Foods, which is, did y'all have Whole Foods here? All right, yeah, okay, not yet. So Whole Foods is a, Whole Foods is a company that, in a lot of ways, is very innovative. It's, you know, they have organic food, they push healthy food. It's a grocery store. But one place where their innovation, and we approached them about this, is lacking, is in their music selection. So when we came to them and we said, you know, you have all these organic and sustainable spaces and products in your store, but the music is just kind of standard industry top 40 stuff. So they really embraced the idea at the Chapel Hill Whole Foods they embraced the idea of having a product where the music was organic and the music was sustainable, just like some of the other products that they celebrate throughout their store. So, you know, we think that the innovative partnerships is an important piece. And I also want to mention, moving forward with the Beatmaking Lab, we're working on developing an open source beatmaking software. And this software is going to be a free software where the code is free and public, and it's going to be a software that is connected to the curriculum and links all of our beatmaking labs internationally. So we partnered with opensource.com, and we have coders, programmers, developers, and artists working on developing the beta version of our beatmaking, of our very own beatmaking software that we're going to launch in hopefully in June of 2013. So that's just a little more background on the Beatmaking Lab and where we're going. And it kind of brings us back to our original question about merging the worlds of art and activism. And we think the Beatmaking Lab was a very successful example of this. But moving forward, what our company is doing is creating a space where other collaborations can occur, where community and innovation can thrive in settings outside of the Beatmaking Lab. So if you're a photographer and there's a women's rights organization that you really vibe with, boom, they can create a project together. If you're in a band or you're a musician or a producer and there's a great nonprofit organization working out of Brazil that you want to collaborate with, boom, we're creating a space where this dialogue can occur and where the networking and space for the fusing of the two can happen. And so, And so I'll end exactly where we started, which is what would happen if art and activism got busy, got pregnant, had a baby. And our answer for that question is artivism. Thank you.